You've been given a quest to find the most famous person to ever exist for $1 billion. But what you don't know is that in the next few seconds, your entire view of fame is about to change completely. Because as you go down the rabbit hole of fame, you realize it goes far deeper than you ever expected, to the point where any celebrity today starts to look like nothing. So let's go find the most famous person to ever exist, starting with a billionaire who broke social media. MrBeast is racking in over 100 billion views per year. Coming from nothing, he quickly became the richest and biggest YouTuber on the planet, being friends with people like Elon Musk and having connections to every celebrity on the planet. With a total following of 640 million, it's safe to say that he's a worthy competitor. But there's only one problem. You see, even though he's known by many, his content targets a younger audience, meaning that if you're over 30, you probably don't know who he is, which illuminates a ton of people. So, though he's clearly not the most famous person in history, he sure sets the bar high. So we need to find someone who's culturally relevant if you want to beat MrBeast. And who better than the man who beats MrBeast at the followers game? The year is 200 BCE, and some guy just created the sport by the name of football, or in today's terms, soccer. He didn't know it, but he had just created what would soon become the biggest sport in human history, with kids in the streets of Brazil playing, dreaming to one day be like the most famous person on the internet.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
With over a billion followers, billions of fans, and yes, a hot-ass wife, it's safe to say he's one of the most famous people to ever live. However, he has no interest in fame, spending his days in the gym or on the soccer field, playing to win the World Cup, the most watched sporting event in human history, watched by over 1.6 billion people at its peak, live, which is over 20% of all humans alive. On top of that, because of soccer's popularity and very diverse fanbase, he's known by every culture and age group. He still exists inside one lifetime. So in order to find the most famous person in history, we need to find someone known beyond time. Someone like Jesus. No. You see, this video is about finding the most famous human ever. And people like Jesus, people like Muhammad are considered prophets, depending on who you ask. Meaning that no religious figures will be counted as the most famous humans, as they are simply not human. And by the end, only one human will be determined the most famous person in history. So let's move on to our next contender. At 5'10", we have one of the most famous singers to ever live. Someone so loved by her fans, it's actually scary. Taylor Swift has a net worth of $1.4 billion, over 500 million combined followers. But unlike people like MrBeast, Taylor Swift is known by almost all age groups and cultures. But in 2016, the biggest celebrities on the planet turned on her. Kanye West, Kim Kardashian. She disappeared. No interviews, no posts, no public appearances. For over a year, people thought her career was finished. Then out of nowhere, she wiped her entire Instagram clean. And days later, she dropped an album called Reputation, built entirely around the hate. It sold over 1 million copies in the first week without a single interview. She re-recorded all her albums to take back ownership of her music. Those re-recordings outsold most artists' brand new albums. Then she launches the Eras Tour. It became the highest grossing tour in human history. So big, it literally boosted the economies of the city she performed in, making her the most famous singer alive. But the crazy part is, she's still nowhere close to the most famous person in history. So, let's move on to our next contender. In 1909, Adolf Hitler was homeless. After getting rejected from art school and fighting in the First World War, he got arrested for trying to overthrow the government. But he used that time in prison to form a master plan on how to actually do so. He literally hit them with an Uno reverse card. After getting released, he released Mein Kampf and quickly rose in popularity amongst the Germans. And when he took power in 1933, he did exactly what the book said, killing over 70 million Jewish people, which was 1 out of every 3 Jews at the time. But after World War II, when he brutally lost to the entire world, he just simply disappeared. Whatever happened to him, we have no idea, but there's no doubt he's one of the most famous people in history. For the atrocious and non-human crimes he committed, being taught in schools, he's not popular. He's just one disgusting part of history. At this point in your journey to find the most famous person in history, you might have realized something uncomfortable. The most famous people aren't always the most loved, but there's an important difference. Some people are remembered because they inspired the world, others are remembered because the world never wants to repeat them. That's where the line is drawn. Fame doesn't mean good, fame doesn't mean admired, fame just means unforgettable. And this is where the video changes. Up until now, we've been looking at people who dominated the attention era: creators, athletes, artists. Then we cross a line: history's most hated name, not remembered for talent, not remembered for greatness, remembered as a warning. And that's when you realize something deeper. Fame isn't about being liked, it's about how deeply your name is carved into human memory. So from here on out, as we go deeper and deeper into history, you're gonna start realizing the true meaning of fame. As now we're only talking about people whose names survive centuries, people whose influence outlived their bodies, people who became history itself, or to find the most famous human in history. But before dictators, there was a man who built a whole empire. Julius Caesar was born into nothing and ended up cheating on his three wives with Cleopatra, who he was competing against with Mark Antony. Realizing he couldn't outreach Mark, he decided to invade his kingdom and kill him. But funny thing is, Cleopatra ended it before he could even get to her. But that's not the reason he's remembered today. You see, after taking charge of Rome, he would write about his battles and victories. His fame grew so much that people from thousands of miles away knew his name and feared it. But his death came much too early. He was stabbed over 23 times. This was over 2,000 years ago, and his name is still remembered by most people today, thanks to things like school and, well, history. Alexander the Great didn't inherit an empire. He inherited a small kingdom on the edge of the ancient world. By 20, his father was dead, and everyone expected him to fail. Instead, he did the impossible. With an army outnumbered, out-equipped, and thousands of miles away from home, Alexander started conquering everything: Prussia, Egypt, Malaysia, India. Empire after empire collapsed in front of him. Cities surrendered just from hearing his name. By 25, he ruled the largest land empire ever. By 30, he was considered invisible. His name spread mouth to mouth across deserts, mountains, and oceans. People who never saw him believed he was a god. Then at 32 years old, Alexander died. No one knows how, but here is the insane part. This was over 2,300 years ago, but his name is still taught, still referenced, still legendary. He didn't just conquer land, he conquered human memory itself. And yet, compared to the next contender, Alexander starts to feel almost unknown. Because while everyone who have done so far is famous, the next one pushes it to a whole new level. Michael Jackson grew up with his siblings and started singing from an early age. As he grew up, so did the cameras watching him sing. He quickly became the most famous singer on the planet, hanging around presidents, Diddy, Trump. Rumors say he got diddled by Diddy, but it's all lies. Everywhere he walked, he was surrounded by fans. His sheer presence alone was enough to knock people out. It's safe to say he was the definition of aura before aura was even invented. He ended up dying at the age of 50 in 2009, but he's still remembered to this day and considered the most influential singer in human history. So, who is the most famous person in history? Looking at everyone we've covered so far, it feels like there are a lot of people that make people like Elon Musk look small. Alexander ruled the ancient world. Michael Jackson stopped cities by just walking. But those comparisons miss something important. Hear me out. You see, Elon Musk isn't famous because of one thing. He's famous because he exists at the intersection of everything: technology, money, AI, energy, space. You see, that's something that never existed before. And if AI works the way people think it will, and if space travel actually becomes real, Elon wouldn't just be remembered as a businessman. He would be remembered as a man who helped humanity leave Earth. And that's a different category of fame. Not celebrity fame, not political fame, civilizational fame. People thousands of years from now won't argue about his follower count. They'll talk about who built the machines, who pushed humanity forward, who changed the trajectory of the species, just like we do Caesar. just like we do Alexander. Expect this time, the entire world is watching it happen in real time. So maybe the most famous person in history isn't someone from the past, maybe it's someone alive right now. And if AI and space actually work out, Elon won't just be famous, he'll be irreplaceable. It's been PR Media. Subscribe and have a great day.